Hi guys.
Hi and welcome back to this water section number 2. In the previous module, we already talked about the quality parameters for water. And in this video section, we are going to talk about the water purification methods that we have, National Water and Sanitation Program, plus we will also talk a little bit about rain harvesting. Let's get on and talk about the first topic, that is what is water purification system that we have. But the first thing for us to understand is that the water purification can happen at the larger scale, or we can have a small scale water purification. At the larger scale, either we can store the water for a longer time or do filtration using sand beds or do disinfection. At the smaller scale, that means at the village level or rural community level or household level, we can do disinfection of the wells or a very much household level purification of water. Let's talk about some MCQs from storage of water. If you talk about storage of water, by storing water, it is believed that more than 90% of the impurities will settle. Impurities will decrease by more than 90% by storage of water only. How much time should we store the water? It is said that if we store the water for 5 to 7 days, there is more than 70% reduction in gross bacterial load. In gross bacterial load, there is more than 70% reduction. And the ideal time for storage is roughly 10 to 15 days. How does this bacterial load actually decrease? Which bacteria are we talking of? We are talking of decrease in the ammonia levels. We are talking about the decrease in the nitrates and the nitrite and the nitrites level. Actually, what is happening that when you are storing the water for a longer time, there is action by the oxidizing bacteria. So because under the action of oxidizing bacteria, we can actually make the water kind of pure, but that's the only MCQs you get in storage. That storage helps you in doing what? It decreases 90% impurities. What is the ideal time for storage? Ideal should be for more than 10 to 15 days. What happens in storage? You actually decrease the harmful components. Next is this topic on water filtration, a 5-star topic for your exam beta. When you were doing community medicine, in case you are intern right now, when you were doing PSM postings at that time, did you ever go for the water treatment system? Did you ever happen to see the water treatment filtration plants that we have? So in case you have gone, very good. In case you did not, let us go together and see what are the types of filtration system. We have rapid sand filter and slow sand filter. Just before I enter into rapid and slow, which in case you had gone to a sand filter, what sand filter do you think you went? Did you go to a rapid or a slow? Please note that the slow sand filters across India are almost obsolete. We are not using slow sand filter. Everywhere in all the cities, we have a rapid sand filter. So let's get on and watch that what are the MCQs you may get on a rapid sand filter. Beta, what we do in a rapid sand filter is that this is like the water in your home. It comes from where? It comes from the tap. How does the water reach the tap? It comes from the municipal supply. Maybe in the morning and evening, you get the fresh water supply. So the taps are there and the fresh water supply. So how does the municipal people get water? So that's what you are going to study right now is the rapid sand filter. So rapid sand filter is a filtration system that we use in the government in the municipal water supply. What happens is, let us assume there is some river. There is a river or there is a canal which is there or there is a stream. So what water do we use normally in the municipal level or in the public level? We always use the surface water. Take it to a certain height and in the height we mix it. The first MCQ, we mix it with a chemical called as alum. We mix it with a chemical called as alum. That is your first MCQ. So first MCQ, what is this first chamber? This first chamber is called as the mixing chamber. In the mixing chamber, you are going to mix what? We are going to mix alum. Alum is mixed at the rate of 5 to 50 milligrams per liter of water, and of course it's a very big range. Alum can be as high as 100 milligrams per liter. We can mix alum, so it depends on the contamination level of water. So the first chamber is a mixing chamber, and then there is another chamber. In the another chamber there are a fan from below. Just imagine there are turbines from below. If there are turbines from below, if the fans are there from below, just imagine ulta fan or fan from below. So what they are going to do, don't you think they will churn the water? This method of churning of water is your second chamber. This chamber is called as a flocculation chamber. This method, this chamber is called as a flocculation chamber. In the flocculation chamber, only MCQ is like what is going to form? There is formation of the scum, or there is a froth formation. There is a froth formation, and technically you are mixing the alum, and a lot of flocculation happens, and all the impurities will mix with alum, and they will float. They will float on top of the water. So you'll have a lot of froth on the water. So that is what is there in the flocculation chamber. Next in line, what you do is you take this water and a little bit slant you give. If you give a little bit slant, don't you think if all the froth is coming from here, and if the slant is there, there is motor which is throwing all the water up to the height. So because of the pressure of the water, the froth will stay back, the water will move forward. If there is a slant like this, are we getting it? So in case there is a slant, now what will happen? The froth will stay here and the water stream will go ahead. So this water stream will go ahead and go to a third chamber. This chamber is the third chamber. This chamber is called as a sedimentation tank. Sedimentation tank. And I don't know why the examiners have a kind of fascination towards asking this point, that is there a sedimentation tank in a rapid sand filter? Common sense, yes, there is a sedimentation tank. This tank is called as a sedimentation tank. In the sedimentation tank MCQ, the water is going to stay for how much time? In the sedimentation tank, the water is going to stay for 2 to 6 hours. So till now there was mixing of the alum, and after mixing of the alum, flocculation, and flocculation, then you increase the a little bit more slant you give, and then there is sedimentation. In the sedimentation, just now you understood in storage, right? There is decrease in the water, like ammonia or the organic components, they are going to decrease by the action of the oxidizing bacteria. So now in the sedimentation tank, there is filtration. Actually, there is purification of water, but to a very low extent. Now what you can do is you can throw the water down. You took it to up and now you throw it down. How will you throw? You don't throw it on the streets. You throw it in a big room. This big room is called as the filtration room. This is our favorite room, filtration room. A lot of MCQs come from the filtration room. So in the filtration room, beta, what we have done is we have put a lot of gravel. So lot of gravel. Gravel means sand. So we have gravel. And small pieces of gravel and small pieces of sand are there. Small pieces of gravel or sand are there. So this is what is there in the filtration room. I'll just take a new page and write over there filtration. The third step is the filtration room or the filtration tank. In the filtration room, there is sand or there is gravel. How much thick gravel will be there? MCQs, 2 MCQs on gravel. The size of the gravel, the size of the particle will be 0.4 to 0.7 millimeter. And how thick the sand bed should be? The sand bed should be around 1 to 1.5 meter thick. Minimum it should be 1 meter. It is 1 to 1.5 meter thick big room, sand in that big room. So this sand is there. Now what will happen? The water will come from top and it will fall down and the water will stay here. Don't you think that if the water is going to stay in the filtration room, it will percolate? It will seep in through the sand gravel or through the sand beds. And once it percolates, we believe that probably the God has made this mechanism. Now we are going to collect the water. Once you collect the water, you chlorinate the water and you give it to your home. Simple. This is what is a rapid sand filter. Are we getting it? So simple to understand. So there are a lot of MCQs on a filtration system, but all said and done, These are the MCQs that you get. How many chambers did you see? You are technically seeing 4 big chambers, but you have a couple of them more. From your MCQ point, there is a mixing chamber where you mix the alum, flocculation chamber where you mix it with impurities, the sedimentation tank where the first level of purification will happen, and then there is a filtration room. Common sense, there is one grit level also. There is a grit over here. There is a grit. Grit means in Hindi we say jali. So there is a mesh. There is a mesh which is made up of iron. And the mesh is there, of course, common sense. In the stream, in the river, there'll be so many plastic bottles, some big impurities, big things will be there. So those all are stopped at the grit level. So there are different levels of cleaning of water. First is the grit level. Second is you mix it with alum. Third is you cause flocculation. Fourth is you do sedimentation. Fifth is you do filtration, which is the main mixing part. The main mixing part, the main purification, not the mixing, main purification part, main functioning part is the filtration room. Next MCQ over here, one more MCQ. Have you ever seen your household RO systems? If you have seen your household RO system, sometimes they get choked. This filter also can get choked. What I mean to say is that a lot of water is coming. So much water is coming. Don't you think that there is at least a theoretical probability at least that the filter may have a lot of impurities now? There is a lot of things which are lying there on the sand bed, and now the water will not percolate. If the water will not percolate, the level of this water, the level of the water in the sand bed will increase. Are you getting it? Right? So now what we have done is, while making a filtration system, we put a siphon over here. Just look at the screen. What do you mean by a siphon? Have you ever done something like this in your household thing? If you take a tube and if you put water, the level of water will be same in both the ends of the tube, right? If they are at the same height. So at the same mechanism, we put a small siphon tube, not a small, it's a very big tube. So in that tube, the level of water should always be same. The same water in the filtration room, the same level should be read on this, in this tube also, right? This tube is going to read a level. In case, listen carefully, in case there is choking of filter. In case of choking of filter, this level will increase up and this level will come down. This funda of loss of the head of the water. If there is loss of head of water in the inspection channel, there is a channel over there. If there is loss of head, what does this mean? This is a technical word. We say loss of head. It means filter is choked. So choking of a rapid sand filter means a loss of head. What is loss of head? The level will come down and this level will go up. What is the normal level? What is the normal level of water in a rapid sand filter? In a rapid sand filter, the normal level of water should be 1 to 1.5 meters. The normal level of water should be 1 to 1.5 meters. That is, if there is loss of head, then that level actually increases. So you have to be very cautious about the loss of head. How much loss of head is permissible? Loss of head permissible is around 6 to 8 feet. So if there is loss of head more than 6 to 8 feet, then we have to do some de-choking, some cleaning of the filter. What is the level of minimum level? This is not the maximum, this is the minimum. What is the minimum level of water in rapid sand filter room? In filter room, it should be around 1 to 1.5 meters. It should be around 1 to 1.5 meter. Minimum level should be there. So this is what is a loss of head and this is what is choking. So a lot of MCQs you have done over here. We are just coming back to the rapid sand filter just for a moment. Let us have a look at the other component, that is the slow sand filter. Then we'll sit down and compare both the rapid sand filter with the slow sand filter. What do you mean by a slow sand filter? Slow sand filter will have a bigger area. It will have a larger area. And in the slow sand filter, what you have is a big room, very big room. And in the big room, you just put sand gravel over here. So you just put sand or the gravel over here. So there is a lot of sand and gravel in the slow sand filter, right? There is a lot of sand and gravel in the slow sand filter. Now what happens is you just simply put water over here. You just put water over here, and this is what is a slow sand filter. So what is a rapid sand filter? Rapid sand filter is more complex. What is a slow sand filter? It is a simple filter, and the water is there on the sand bed. We think that the water will percolate. Once it percolates, we will collect the water, we will chlorinate in case required, and we'll send it. But the problem is that the slow sand filter, whenever the water will come, it will come. In this rapid sand filter, you were actually pushing the water. You were pushing it up and then you were pushing it down, right? So this is what is a slow sand filter, and the other one is a rapid sand filter. Let us have some common MCQs on them. Please note that in case we are comparing a rapid sand filter with a slow sand filter, what is the sand gravel size? You remember in a rapid sand filter, the sand gravel size is 0.4 to 0.7 millimeter. In a slow sand filter, it is very small, very thin sand. In this one, it is very thin sand, that is 0.2, half of it, 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter. Is there a preliminary treatment required in a rapid sand filter? Definitely yes. That's what I was saying. That the MCQ will ask you so many times, do you need sedimentation before the sand filter? Rapid sand filter, answer is yes. In a slow sand filter, is there any sedimentation? No. So in a preliminary treatment is yes, using a sedimentation tank. Is there a sedimentation tank in slow sand filter? Answer is no. Sedimentation or no preliminary storage is there. No preliminary storage is there in a slow sand filter. What about the washing and cleaning? Now, this is pretty like a lot of times it has been asked, frequently asked question. What about the washing or the cleaning? See, if this rapid sand filter is there, the loss of head which is allowable in a rapid sand filter is 6 to 8 feet. So once the rapid sand filter is there, and if you think it is choked, what we do is we push air from below. If you push air from below, that will, don't you think the choking was here, and you put air from below, it will cause disruption of the impurities which are there. So that disruption of impurities and pushing air from below, this is what is called as backwashing. Backwashing. What do you mean by backwashing? So don't think of anything else. Backwashing is behind the washing. So backwashing is you push the air or the water from below. So once you push it from below, the impurities which are choked over here, which are clogged over here, they will just move around, and you do backwashing again and again. You can even do backwashing multiple times a day or multiple times a week. But the problem with backwashing is it's a highly technical process. It's a technical process. No, it's not that you can just open something and the backwashing happens. It's a highly technical process where everything has to be maneuvered. The sand bed, the sand quality, the amount of choking, the loss of head, many parameters are to be ascertained. It is backwashing is done. In slow sand filter, can you do backwashing? Can you do backwashing? Answer is no. Why? Let's try to learn a little bit more into slow sand filter. What is the main mechanism in a rapid sand filter? I told you it's the filtration bed. The main mechanism in a slow sand filter is not the filtration room, because there is only one thing. So what is the main mechanism? Beta, in case I let the water stand over here on the floor somewhere for a long time, don't you think there'll be that algae or plankton over there? So in that algae or plankton, they will form here also. They will form over the inside the bed also. Embedded into the bed, they will be there on the bed also. So there is this formation of the plankton layer. In medical words, we call this layer as a zooglial layer, also called as a vital layer, also called as a biological layer. So there is a biological layer or a vital layer or a zooglial layer, also called as a SCHMUTZDECKE layer. Lot of alphabets together. So this Schmutzdecke layer or the zooglial layer or the biological layer or the vital layer, we believe that this is the main functioning part of the slow sand filter. Why? Because if the water is passing through this zooglial layer, it gets oxidized. It is with the oxygen radicals, there is oxidation process, and the water is pakka, pure, very pure. You know that if you go to Amarnath Ji Yatra, or you go to any hill station, or you go to any place which has a lot of waterfalls, and it is always said that the water in the hilly areas, they are very pure. And because the water passes through so much flora, now there is more oxidation, and it's almost the same principle which happens here in the slow sand filter. So what is the main functioning in a slow sand filter? That is the Schmutzdecke layer, or the Zugliel layer, or the biological layer, or the vital layer. Now, common sense, if you do backwashing, if there is choking, this can also be choked, right? This is also choked. Let us say there is choking. That means whatever poor fellow water was supposed to come down, that also did not come. So now you need to clean this. How are you going to clean this? You cannot do backwashing, because if you do backwashing, you are going to destroy the biological layer or the Zugliel layer, because everything get disrupted. So that impaction of that oxidizing mechanism, the water percolation will not happen. So you will spoil your sand bed. So what are you going to do, beta? You need to do simple. You need to throw someone in. So the person will be going inside, and there is a ladder. The person will clean it, scrape it, and then come up. So there has to be scraping of the slow sand filter. So scraping is very time consuming. The sand filter has to be stopped and so on. That's why we say that it's more of labor work, scraping, and backwashing is a mechanized technical work. Next is, how about the purity? I think we've had a lot of discussion. The rapid sand filter is almost 99% pure, and the slow sand filter is taken as 99.99.99% pure. It's the most purest water that we have, slow sand filter. The rate of filtration of slow sand filter, can you see, is roughly around 50 to 100 times less, or rapid is 50 times more than the slow sand filter. The capacity of rapid sand filter, can you see, it is 200 million gallons a day. MGAD stands for million gallons a day. Whereas the slow sand filter is only 2 to 3 million gallons a day. That is, we can say that the rapid sand filter is 50 to 100 times. 50 to 100 times rapid. Rapid is rapid, right? 50 to 100 times rapid than the slow sand filter. The rate of filtration is 5 to 15 cubic meters per hour. Cubic meter of water filtration per hour per meter square of the filter area. On the other hand, the slow sand filter is 0.1 to 0.5 cubic meter of water is filtered per hour per square meter of the slow sand filter. The space required for a slow sand filter will be more compared to the rapid sand filter. It is less space consuming and faster filtration system. So these were your MCQs from the rapid sand filter and the slow sand filter. Now let us go back and talk about the disinfection types on a larger scale. So what are the MCQs you are expecting from disinfection? How do you disinfect water at a larger scale? At a larger or community scale, I told you that there is a rapid sand filter slow. You take the water and then you chlorinate it. So how do you chlorinate? That is your first MCQ. We already discussed in the previous module what is chlorination. Chlorination is disinfection. So what is the level of chlorine you want? You would like to use chlorine gases. And the chlorine gas should give you a level of chlorine which should be more than 0.5 parts per million after a contact time of 1 hour. So please note that the criteria for chlorination at a larger scale is 0.5 parts per million in case there is impending outbreaks. In case of impending outbreaks where you think that people will be getting together, there is some religious mela, there is some religious get together, or there is some festival which is coming, and you feel that there could be some outbreaks. So the government, what they do is that they keep the parts per million of chlorine to be more than 0.7 parts per million. But of course, all said and done, this is only for MCQs. In real time, usually it is more than 0.9, even more than 1 ppm of chlorine level when there is impending outbreak. Next is, what is the process of ozonization? What is this process of ozonization? Beta, in the process of ozonization, what we can do is we can push in dry ozone gas under high voltage gates. So you take 2 or 3 gates, and in that high voltage gates you make an electric field, and through that you push in ozone gas. We believe that this is just going to electrify everything, and it is going to decrease 2 things. It is going to decrease the microbial load, Microbial load includes the bacterial load and the virus load and of course the parasite load. Plus it is also useful for destroying any chemicals, hazardous chemicals like pesticides or any organic chemicals. Organic chemical destruction also happens while we pass the ozone through high voltage electricity gated channels and there is a production of the electric field. Usually it is said that for a good level of ozonization, the ozone gas should always be more than 0.5 milligram per liter of water with a contact time of 20 minutes. So in 20 minutes, it should always be, if you're doing ozonization, it should be more than 0.5. What is the ideal level? The ideal should be more than 2.5 milligrams per liter. So 2.5 milligrams per liter is the ideal ozone levels, but all said and done, the permissible when you are doing ozonization should be more than 0.5. We don't very often use it in the government sector, in the municipality. Of course, in your homes, in my home, we all have ozone filters. So what's the disadvantage of ozone filter? The disadvantage of ozone filter is that the water is there. You pass ozone gas through the high voltage electric areas. The water will pass through that and all the things will be electrified. But the problem is there is no residual effect. That in case there is some contamination later on, which is handled by the chlorine gas, the ozonation will only stop at that particular time. So the ozone will not have any residual effect. And because ozone does not have any residual effect, it is usually advised to combine the ozone with any other, usually combine with other filtration methods. That is the reason many people have started selling. To me, they give a call that, sir, it's heating time, it's summer time. Do you want ozone filters? We have beautiful, arey bhai, what are you going to do with ozone filter? Ozone filter will only purify your water at that particular flash of a second. Because it's just a flash of a second. It's not going to have a residual effect. You always need ozone filter with the reverse osmosis. You need ozone filter with microfiltration techniques or any other filtration method should always be there. Ozone alone does not work very nicely. So that was regarding the disinfection number 1, that is the ozonization. Third is very commonly we are using this. Many rural areas, they have started using the membrane processes. Beta, in the membrane process, what we do is we take a semi-permeable membrane. We take a simple membrane. In that semi-permeable membrane, there will be some pores. Okay. So now what happens is you make the water come in and the water through that semi-permeable pores is going to pass. And of course, the pore size is going to define what molecules will pass, what will not pass. Simple. So this is called as a filtration method using membrane. This is membrane filtration. Now the membrane filtration can be of broadly 2 types. The membrane filtration can be of broadly 2 types. Either we can have a high pressure membrane filtration or we can have a low pressure membrane filtration. What do you mean by high pressure and low pressure? Beta, if the pore size, if the hole size of the hole is less than 0.2 micrometers, if it is less than 0.2 micrometers, we say it is microfiltration. If it is less than 0.1, that is half of the microfilter. It is ultra. If it is 0.01, that is 1/10 of the ultrafiltration, and reverse osmosis is 10 raised to power minus 3 or 10 raised to power minus 4, whatever. So reverse osmosis will have so small, very small pore size. Microfiltration will have the largest pore size. Now, because the membrane is there, I told you, and the pore is 0.2, so the water can freely pass even on low pressures. So these low pressures will have less efficiency of purification, but they are more like output of water is more water output. More water output is there, but they are less efficient because the pore size is bigger and the contamination may still be passed. So many viruses are not blocked in microfiltration. So the RO people, they will say, and sir, this filter is the best one. It has microfiltration and it has ozone. What do you think, it's good or not, compared to a traditional RO system which says that there is reverse osmosis and ozone? So reverse osmosis is technically the highest level of filtration that we can have. Why? Because the pore size is so small. But the problem is the wastewater. The wastewater that we generate out of RO, can you believe, is normally 10 to 20 times of the water that we drink. If you drink 1 glass, you are wasting 10 glasses because of the RO. So there is a national wastage, because there is one pipe which will go to your drinking water and one pipe will go as the wastewater. The wastewater is 10 times of the drinking water. So that is about the water extraction ratios or the efficiency ratios. So a lot of types of filtration systems are there. But reverse osmosis, please note, has the smallest pore size. It has the highest efficiency. It is the best type of filtration system. But the problem is that the water output is very low. So now, after finishing the large scale purification of water, let us switch over to the small scale purification of water. Small scale does not mean household level or only if I want to purify my water, what is the level? Small scale means at a smaller scale. That means at a village level, at a rural community level, or in the slum centers or in the slums. How do we purify the water, and what are the ways of purification? So the first is disinfection of the well. In case the well is there in the rural area, how to disinfect a well? That is your first understanding about the water purification at a smaller scale. You already know that the well is there and the height of the well should be 3 feet. You already know that a sanitary well should have a cemented ground which should be 3 feet in radius. You already know that the well should always be covered, and please also note it should be more than 50 meters away from any contamination, because there is a cone of contamination which follows. I think we have already had a word on that. So how do you disinfect that? How do you disinfect a well? Because in case the well is contaminated, or is there a need for regular disinfection? Answer is yes. So what is the method of disinfection? What we do is we use bleaching powder. You use bleaching powder. How much bleaching powder to be added? That will depend again on the quantity of the water in the well, and of course on the contamination level you use Horrocks apparatus. So you find out how much bleaching powder is required. So that will be required for 455 liters if you remember Horrocks apparatus. So how much is the water in the well, that you have to calculate. So that calculation is based on the volume of the of a cylinder. You remember wells will always have kind of tapering below. Wells will have a tapering in the bottom side. So the disinfection of well can be calculated by a formula pi r square h, that is the volume of the well, multiplied by 1/4. So you just decrease it by 4 times. So this is the way to calculate the volume of a well. Please note that the formula would be pi r square h divided by 4. That's what you need to remember. So in generally talking, in just very gross terms, in normal systems, 2.5 grams of bleaching powder, normal household bleaching powder, is sufficient for 1000 liters of the water in normal situations. If you do this, you may get 0.5 to 0.7 part per million of the free chlorine. So that is what is the general understanding about disinfection of well. How to calculate pi r square h divided by 4. What is r over here, beta? R stands for the radius of the well. H will stand for the depth of the well. So how much is the radius, the upper radius, and how much is the depth? Pi r square h divided and multiplied by 1/4 or divided by 4. Another point that you can remember for your exam is that in disinfection of well, in case of outbreaks. Now, in case of outbreaks in a rural area, you want the well to be disinfected for a longer time. So what we can do is we can deploy a double pot method. What is this double pot method? In a double pot method, what we do is we take one pot. In that pot, you add 1 kilogram of bleaching powder and you put some gravel so that it just sinks down, right? So you put some sand and gravel, you put bleaching powder, and you put water also. Now you put this single pot into another pot. there is a small hole. So the chlorine or the bleaching powder solution is going to seep in through this hole, and it will keep on seeping in through this hole for a longer period of time. This is called as double pot method. If you use 1 kilogram of bleaching powder is used, this bleaching powder or this double pot method, it is effective for 2 to 3 weeks. For a water level, like the amount of water in the well, if it is around 4500, it will be effective for 2 to 3 weeks. And if the water extraction from the well, that is the number of water consumption from the well, is around 350 to 450 liters per day. So if the water extraction is 350, 450, if the total water in the well is 4500 and the double pot is there with 1 kilogram of bleaching powder, it will be useful for 2 to 3 weeks. It is sufficient. This is what is a double pot method. And lastly is what is the household level purification methods. What are the methods of purification at the household level? But at the household level, that means in a family level. Now we are at the family level. At a family level, we can ask people to boil. Do you think people will boil water and drink? In OPD, almost every time you tell to a patient with diarrhea that, Bhaiya, please boil the water and drink. Do you think that patient is very obedient and they will drink the water after because the doctor said boil the water? Nobody drinks water which is boiling. Why? Because boiling is very expensive. Who's going to pay for the LPG cylinder? Who's going to pay for all the fuel cost? So boiling is not an option. Usually it is the lowest accepted way. It is the lowest accepted way and the most advised way, that is boiling. So, only thing for your MCQ exam, what do you mean by boiling? Please note that boiling for household purification of water, it is said that you should always do roll boiling. What is roll boiling? I think I had a word when we were doing hardness also. There should be roll boiling. Roll boiling is you let the water boil for 10 to 20 minutes. So that is what is called as roll boiling. Common sense, it is very expensive. So what we can do is more cost-effective methods. The cost-effective methods could be the chemical disinfection. So either you use bleaching powder. I told you 2.5 grams of bleaching powder for 1000 liters of water. Bleaching powder will give you 33% of free chlorine. We have already discussed. You can also use a chlorine solution. How will you make a chlorine solution at home? So what you can do is 4 kilograms of bleaching powder. You add 4 kilograms of bleaching powder in 20 liters of water. How much is 20 liter? 1 bucket. In the one we use for bathing, right? So 1 bucket of water, 20 liter bucket of water, you add 4 kilograms of bleaching powder. This total is going to give you a solution, water solution, chlorinated solution. This is called as 5% chlorine solution. So how do you make a 5% chlorine solution? By adding 4 kilograms of bleaching powder in 20 liters of water. This can also be used as an effective method of household purification of water by adding chlorine solution to the water. Other method that we can use is high test hypochlorite. It is nothing but the perchloron. We already talked that it is going to give you 66% free chlorine. So we can either use perchloron or we can use chlorine tablets. A lot of MCQs come on chlorine tablets. The chlorine tablets are available in the government setup. They are called as halazone tablets. The constituent of tablets as per the United States Pharmacopoeia, USP, United States Pharmacopoeia, is 4-gram tablet. So they constitute 4 grams. This chlorine tablet or the halazone tablet is 100 grams in mass. The weight of the tablet is 100 grams and this generally provides 2 to 4 milligrams of per liter of chlorine. So which is sufficient enough, which is very nice, sufficient enough. 2 to 4 milligrams of chlorine will be there in 1 liter of water. So this total is going to give you that 0.5% ppm, 0.5 parts per million. So chlorine tablets, which are the halazone tablets, they contain USP 4 grams. The weight of the tablet is 100 grams and they will give you 2 to 4 milligrams per liter of chlorine, active chlorine in 1 liter of water. And the next one is chlorine tablets. A lot of times you get questions on chlorine tablets. The general chlorine tablets which are available in private supply, these are under the name of halazone tablets. The halazone tablets could be different constituents, different composition as there. Usually the halazone tablets are United States Pharmacopoeia, US Pharmacopoeia tablets. So they contain USP 4 grams of the halazone, that is the chlorine component. This halazone tablet will ensure, usually the different sizes are there, 50 grams to 100 grams, and they will ensure 2 to 4 milligrams per liter of the chlorine content. So these are the privately available halazone tablets. Now in India, we have special tablets which have been manufactured by the NEERI. NEERI stands for National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. So it is located in Nagpur, NEERI from Nagpur. They made their new chlorine tablets which are more than 15 times better in effectivity. The chlorine tablets that we use in government is 0.5 grams of chlorine tablet is enough for 20 liters of water. 20 liters of water can be sufficiently disinfected using a single chlorine tablet which is 0.5 grams, and that is sufficient for 0.5 grams for 20 liters of water. That is what you can remember. We can use povidone iodine, or we can use ethanol solutions of iodine. So iodine solution can be used, but of course that will be giving some bad odor, some bad taste and the color. Potassium permanganate can also be used for disinfection of water. Many times you must have seen that when we go to swimming pool, there is a special area where you dip your feet, and that is pink or purplish color water. So that actually contains potassium permanganate. Potassium permanganate is also a very strong disinfectant, but the problem is it may alter the taste, it may alter the smell, and of course it may have some harmful effect on the eyes also. That is the reason we don't put potassium permanganate in the swimming pool. We always use a chlorine solution for swimming pool. Potassium permanganate, however, can be used for water purification at household levels. Coming next, at the household level, we may also use many times some filters can be used. Like for example, the names could be the Katadyn filter, Pasteur-Chamberlain filter, the Berkefeld filters. Please note they are almost obsolete. We are not using them. Now in your home, in my home, in most of the homes, we are having UV radiations or multi-stage. The problem with UV radiations is again same thing. There is a UV lamp. But the problem is, again, there is very less residual effect. There is almost negligible residual effect. The UV lamp that we use will have usually around 254 nanometer of the wavelength. 254 nanometer wavelength of the UV lamps are used in the UV filters. The problem is there is less residual effect, and what is most commonly in your and my home, what we are using is the RO filters. So in RO filters, how many types of filters do we have in the RO system? If you look at this RO filter, in the RO filters, there could be different stages. First stage could be different stages or different chambers you have. So the first chamber is what is a sediment filter. Sediment filter. After sediment filter, we have a carbon filter. Carbon filter. Third is a GAG filter. GAG filter. And fourth is what is the RO membrane. Fourth is the RO membrane. So beta, the sediment filter, what is the function? What is the work of the sediment filter? The sediment filter is going to work to decrease the particle load or the solute load. So it is one of the main functioning system of the RO system, that is the sediment filter, that is going to block all the major bigger impurities. Next in line is you have the carbon filter. This is the most important filter for chemical disinfection. Chemical disinfection is done using carbon filters. These are carbon block filters. So many times when the RO system gets blocked, or we say that the water is not that good quality, the person who comes for servicing of the RO filter, they will only change that the carbon filter is gone, sir. So sediment filter is one filter which is a big filter. And then you have the carbon filter which is going to take care of all the chemical aspects of the water. Then what is the function of the GAG filter? This can be MCQ. What is the use of a GAG filter? Please note that the GAG filter is to change the color of water, taste of water, or the odor in water. So gag filters are the filters which will actually enhance the user experience. So gag filters help in user experience. And finally, what is the main functioning area? The main functioning area is the RO membrane. What is the pore size in RO membrane? It's the same size that you read earlier. The pore size in RO membrane would be less than 0.002 to 0.001. So it is 10 raised to power minus 3, 10 raised to power minus 4 is the micrometers, is the pore size in a RO system. And the RO system are going to stop all the flies, all the bacteria, all the big things and the small things, everything is stopped. They almost stop all the viruses as well. It is a very beautiful system, but of course at the cost of water wastage. We already talked, it is 10 times more wastage. Next topic is what is the swimming pool sanitation. So when we are going to swimming pools, we need to be sure that the swimming pool water, is it safe, yes or no? So how do you ensure? Beta, the swimming pool sanitation, first element is about the chlorine levels. Chlorine levels in normal drinking water is 0.5 parts per million, we discussed. In outbreak phenomena, they are more than 0.7 parts per million, we already discussed. In swimming pools, the chlorine level should always be more than 1 part per million. They need more chlorine because a lot of people will be there, a lot of infections can happen. So more chlorine, more people, swimming pool. Remember, 1 part per million. Next, in a swimming pool, it is always essential that the water should be changed in a swimming pool. You don't need to change the whole water, but at least more than 15% of the water change should happen in 24 hours. So in every 24 hours, if the swimming pool is being used, the water change should be there. Then the pH of the water should be 7.4 to 7.8. And lastly, in the swimming pool sanitation, like how much is the area for the swimming pool? It should be more than 24 square feet per swimmer. So these are some of the public health criteria for having a safe swimming pool and for people to enjoy swimming as a beautiful sport. It is indeed a beautiful sport. Next topic is what are the water and diseases. Lot of diseases, lot of water we are talking. So water could have lot of diseases. First is we can have a water-borne disease. Second, we can also have a water-washed disease. We can also have a water-based diseases, and we can lastly also have water-related diseases. So what do you mean by all these things? What do you mean by waterborne? Waterborne is common sense. I think everybody knows. All the gastroenteritis, all the diarrheal attacks, all the typhoid, cholera. Typhoid is predominantly foodborne, but yes, it can be waterborne as well. But predominantly, if you get the best answer, typhoid is actually a foodborne. But yes, I have written here because it is both food and waterborne. Cholera, diarrhea, gastroenteritis, all are waterborne infections. Salmonella infection, all are waterborne. Next, what do you mean by the water washed? Some diseases are there which are washed by water. That is by safe sanitation, by good sanitation. So example, by good sanitation or better hygiene, they are washed away. So example for this is scabies. Example is trachoma. You remember trachoma? Environmental sanitation, safe hands and the safe strategy. So scabies, trachoma, many types of dermatitis, all are actually water washed diseases. Next is water-based disease. What are based? The agent lives in water. You don't live in water, right? We are humans. We don't live in water. We go into the water, and because we go into the water, we get a disease. That is a water-based disease. The agent was in the water. The vector was also in the water. So we go sometimes in the water. Example for this could be swimming pool conjunctivitis. Example for this could also be dracunculosis. Dracunculosis, that is the guinea worm disease. So all these are water-based diseases. Dracunculosis is beta guinea worm disease. Next is what is water-related diseases. Water-related diseases, we didn't go to water. The infectious agent also does not go to water. Some of our relative needs water. So who's that relative? It is the mosquito. You remember mosquito? So Plasmodia does not live in water. Human does not live in water. The mosquito also does not live in water. They need water. So that relative, they need water to spread the disease. Disease cannot spread if the water is not there. because for the life cycle of the mosquito, you need water. So water related diseases are all the mosquito borne disease. Example is malaria, dengue, chikungunya, all the vector borne diseases. These are all water borne diseases. So the next one is National Water and Sanitation Program. First MCQ. It was started in year 1954. Long time back it was started, 1954. What was the focus objective of the National Water and Sanitation Program? It is to provide a clean, safe and ample source of water, drinking water, ample source of water at all levels, that is at the rural level and household level. So what are the objectives on this? So please note that in the National Water Sanitation Program, we want that the water supply in the village or in the rural area should be within, first MCQ, within, all our MCQs now, within 100 meters of housing area. So every house should have a water supply within 100 meter of that particular house. We want that the female or the male, whoever goes to take water, right? So they should not be having a more than 30 minutes walk. The walk should not be more than 30 minutes because it wastes a lot of time. There should be a clean, safe and ample water, and there should be more than one water source for more than 250 houses. That means up till 250 houses, one water source is okay. More than 250, you need more than one water source. So this is what is the objective of the National Water and Sanitation Program launched in year 1954. Based on this, we have something called as the problem village. What is a problem village? Problem village is the village which is a problem for the National Water Sanitation Program. So what are the problem villages? Problem village is a village in which there is no water supply. Within how much time? Within 1.6 kilometers. Within 1.6 kilometers, there is no water. So that is the main problem village right now. So the focus of the program will be on these problem villages. So there is no water supply within 1.6 kilometers, or the depth of the water, depth of groundwater is more than 15 meters. If the depth is more than 15 meters, or if the water from ground is with excess salinity or excess minerals or radioactivity is more, or it is more with heavy metals. So in case it is like bad water, it's more hard water, very hard water, which is not possible to treat it. In case there is more salinity, more minerals, more radioactivity, all these things come under a problem village. So what do? We want to provide them safe water supply. How do we do that? We have to ensure water tanker supply. So that's what the government is doing for the problem village. And of course, the pipelines are being laid and there is more access to water in even the ruralest of the rural areas. For launching or for combating the problem villages, we have something called as Swajal Dhara. Swajal Dhara is what? It is an initiative to ensure water supply. That same answer, to ensure the clean, safe and ample water supply in all areas. So in all areas, they want to ensure the water supply. Under the National Water Sanitation, they started the scheme called as Swajal Dhara. Swajal Dhara is of two types. We can have Swajal Dhara 1 or the Swajal Dhara 2. Swajal Dhara 1 means it is at the village level. That is at the Gram Panchayat level. Swajal Dhara 1 is at the Gram Panchayat level and the Swajal Dhara 2 is at the district level. So will you remember that for me? Swajal Dhara 2 is at the district level and the Swajal Dhara 1 is at the village or the Gram Panchayat level. They are working to ensure the safe and good water supply. And the last topic before we close off this session is a few points about rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting. Beta, this is what is rainwater harvesting. See, rainwater harvesting is important. Why? Because the rain is the purest form, and also that this is rainwater harvesting is cost effective. Why? Because we all know that the planet Earth has a lot of water. So not that water is there and we can use it. The water from the seas, from the rivers is coming to our homes via a mechanism. there is some rapid sand filter, there is some filtration processes, some purification, and some energy is being spent. It is some having some fuel cost. So that cost is going to add at a national level. So rainwater harvesting is always cost effective. The water that comes to us, there is some carbon footprints. There is some carbon footprints that every person leaves because we are using so much of water. So what are the levels of water, rainwater harvesting levels? The rainwater can be harvested at a household level. Everybody can do that in their homes. The rainwater can also be harvested at a community level or a village level. Or third is, what is a legislative level? Talking about a household level, very simple. You can see this tub is there, this tank is there. So in the tank, you take a water pipe from the roof. The water pipe is going to take all the water which falls on the roof and this goes to the tank. This is possible, right? That is at the household level. At building level or at the household level, this is again possible. At the community level, you can say that there are special buildings. You can make the design of the building as such, which is going to promote water harvesting. Now you don't need any tubes. Or if you want to talk about the community level, there is also something called as the Varkas. Have you ever heard of a Varka? So Varka is something like a big iron pipe will be there. It is usually done in deserts. So what happens in Varka is they'll keep a pipe and they will put a big cloth over here. So that cloth has a specific pore size. What happens is that in deserts, in areas which are like less trees are there, so there'll be a lot of wind over there. So that wind could carry some moisture. So what they do in Varka is they will take out the water from the air. Such a beautiful thing. So this air in the night will strike this cloth over there, and the cloth will take out some water. It will be damp. It will become damp, and the dampness, the water will get collected in the bottom side. The water may get collected, and even people can get up to 100 to 200 liters of water per day in areas, depending on areas. It has been tried in Madhya Pradesh. It has been tried in Africa. In many areas, they have started using Varkas. So that is to extract moisture or the water content from the air, which can be done at the community levels. At the legislative levels, what you can do is you can have special buildings like with a water harvesting mechanism. So there can be some legislative norms that the water is there in the encatchment area, it goes down, then there is a sand filter within the building. And from the building now the water is there. So this actually will reduce the carbon footprints. So this is the importance of rainwater harvesting. And with that, thank you so much for watching this whole module on water and water related diseases and its public health importance. Take care and see you in the next chapter. Bye-bye.
Guys, please subscribe my channels.